रामचंद्र की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, गौर प्रेमानंदे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। 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 नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। श्रीमतां स्वकथा कृष्णा पुण्यश्रवण कीर्तना हृदयन्तस्तौह्य भद्राणि विदुनोति स्वेत्स्थां नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। जय। So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 16, Text 6. वसुकाला उपादत्ते काले चयं विमुञ्चति समः सर्वेषु भूतेषु प्रतपन् सूर्यवद्विभुः। वसुकाला उपादत्ते काले चयं विमुञ्चति समः सर्वेषु भूतेषु प्रतपन् सूर्यवद्विभुः। वसुकाला उपादत्ते काले चयं विमुञ्चति समः सर्वेषु भूतेषु प्रतपन् सूर्यवद्विभुः।
Vasukala upadate chayam vimunchati sama sarveshu bhuteshu pratapan suryabhadvibhu.
Vasukala upadate kale chanyam vimuchyati samah sarveshu bhuteshu pratapan suryabhadvibhu.
Vaishnavis.
Vasukala upadate
काले चयं विमुञ्चति
समः सर्वेषु भूतेषु प्रतपन् सूर्यवद्विभुः। वसुकाला उपादत्ते काले चयं विमुञ्चति समः सर्वेषु भूतेषु प्रतपन् सूर्यवद्विभुः। Vasu, riches. Kala, in due course of time. Upadatte, exact. Kale, in due course of time. Cha, also. Ayam, this King Prthu. Vimunchati, returns. Samaha, equal. Sarveshu, to all. Bhuteshu, living entities. Pratapan, shining. Suryavat, like the sun god. Vibhuhu, powerful. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai. This King Prthu will be as powerful as the sun god. And just as the sun god equally distributes his sunshine to everyone, King Prthu will distribute his mercy equally. Similarly, just as the sun god evaporates water for 8 months and during the rainy season returns it profusely, this king will also exact taxes from the citizens and return these monies in times of need. Purport. The process of tax exaction is very nicely explained in this verse. Tax exaction is not meant for the sense gratification of the so-called administrative heads. Tax revenues should be distributed to the citizens in times of need, during emergencies such as famine or flood. Tax revenues should never be distributed amongst governmental servants in the form of high salaries and various other allowances. In Kali Yuga, however, the position of the citizens is very horrible because taxes are exacted in so many forms and are spent for the personal comforts of the administrators. The example of the sun in this verse is very appropriate. The sun is many millions of miles away from the earth, and although the sun does not actually touch the earth, it manages to distribute land all over the planet by exacting water from the oceans and seas. And it also manages to make that land fertile by distributing water during the rainy season. As an ideal king, King Prthu would execute all this business in the village and state as expertly as the sun. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadkamlam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tham Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenbandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuveva Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatam Aham Vande Shri Gurun Deenataranam. Hare Krishna. It's an honor to be here in presence of Shri Shri Radha Vrindavan Chandra, Srinath Ji, Gaur Nitai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra, the Shingdev, Srila Prabhupada, and all the glorious Vaishnavas. It was about 25 years ago that I first came here with my family. And the deities and devotees have been extremely merciful since. My older daughter got her first book, spiritual book, from the then Nityadita Maharaj. And Nityadita Maharaj, if you're here, I am so grateful to you for that act of kindness, that she's turned out to be a good individual, a good devotee. She's a 16-round devotee. And this is about Srimad Bhagavatam. I'm sorry to bring in my family, but just to express the gratitude as to how merciful the deities and the devotees are and how they can transform the lives of anybody that they come in contact with. So, thank you again for this opportunity to speak on this verse. In this verse, if you read the Sanskrit and you read Prabhupada's translation, you can appreciate Prabhupada's brilliance. You can appreciate his brilliance in many ways, but especially just talking about this specific verse. The verse does not say that the sun god evaporates water for 8 months and during the rainy season it returns it profusely. The verse simply says that in due course of time, this king will exact taxes, and also at the time of need, he will basically return it to them. And sama sarveshu bhuteshu, he will be equal to all. How equal to all? Like pratapan, like the sunshine. The sun shines equally, no discrimination. And he will be vibhu, powerful, like suryavat, again like the sun god. So that's the literal translation of the verse. But Prabhupada makes it, because the comparison is given to the sun god, and he sees that how sun god through sunshine is able to exact water, so he brings that in the translation. So we are grateful to Srila Prabhupada, otherwise we wouldn't be here, assembled here. So following in Srila Prabhupada's footsteps and other acharyas, we will try to draw some parallel here between King Prthu and the leaders in ISKCON. So there are a few things here. One is that King Prthu will be as powerful as the sun god. So let's meditate on that powerful, or that power of a leader, power of the sun. From the management literature, as you may know, there are powers of different types. There is power, is called the position power. And with position comes the power to reward and punish people, the coercive power or the rewarding power. Power also comes from whom you know. It's called the connection power. And it's also from the charisma that people have. So this is one category of powers. Position power, punishment, reward, connection, charisma. And then there is another type of power, and that is based on expertise and knowledge or information. A survey was done of about 6,000 leaders, and they were asked, would you like to be powerful? And if so, which kind of power would you like to have? Only 41% of those 6,000, about 6,000, they opted for the first category of power, which is related to the position. So there are about 40% who want to have a position and the power that comes with the position. The other 60%, they said, we want to attain power based on accomplishments, based on knowledge, based on expertise. I want to be respected based on what I can do, based on what I know, based on what I can accomplish and do it for my subordinates. So King Prthu, he was powerful. It's predicted here by these professional reciters who are praising King Prthu. He says he will be as powerful as the sun god. And we know from the previous chapter that King Prthu received many gifts. And those gifts were, he received the disc from Lord Vishnu himself. He received spiritual knowledge from Brahma. He received transcendental necklace from Brahma's wife. He received a chariot with horses that are nectar, meaning that they will never die, from the moon god. Agni, the demigod of fire, she gave him a bow. And the sun god himself gave him the shining arrows. He also had this free will to pass, meaning he could pass at any time that he wanted. So that's how powerful King Prthu was. And how was he so powerful? Because he received all these gifts. And these gifts were given by these appropriate personalities, demigods, who possessed those gifts. So here at the GBC College, we are trying to give you these gifts in the form of various management tools, leadership techniques. And they are given by these illustrious teachers who have spent years studying those subject matters. So we can draw a parallel here, that the demigods are giving gifts to King Prthu, and here all these illustrious Vaishnavas and teachers, they are imparting you knowledge to equip you as a leader. Srila Prabhupada, as you all know, he came here at a very advanced age. You are all very inspired, and that's why you're all here. You have committed yourself to the movement. But I want to remind myself from time to time that at that advanced age, he undertook the trouble so that I could understand the purpose of life. And he wanted to make this accessible to everybody in the world. And as you have seen from his quotes that we show you in these classes, he wanted now to take his disciples and his grand disciples, he wanted them to take up this mission. So, this college is established by the GBC, and our attempt is to equip you with these tools as much as we can. King Prthu did not refuse these gifts when they were given to him. Many times we hear some critics say, what's the use of these management tools? We can just chant our rounds, we can purify ourselves, and just by the glow on our face and through our purity, we'll be able to transform lives. No doubt about that. The sun god himself does that. Through the sunshine, he purifies the atmosphere. He purifies, he disinfects. He even goes to places that are filthy, dirty, and takes water from there and leaves the contamination, leaves the dirt behind. So that power is there. You can also develop that power through sadhana, through your meditation, through your readings. We're not stopping you from that. And King Prthu also did not stop there. He did not say, do not give me these gifts. I am already a Shaktya Vesha avatar. He was an incarnation of the ruling force of the world. He accepted those gifts. One thing he refused. You know what he refused?
Appreciation.
Glorification. Premature glorification. When the reciters wanted to glorify him prematurely, he said, no, I haven't done anything yet. Please wait. So we can learn from King Prthu as to what to accept and what not to accept. So one thing is receiving these gifts, having this power. Then the next thing is to use this power. How do we use this power? As you have heard, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Sun God, if you see his position, on average 93 million miles away from Earth. So depending upon where in the orbit the Earth is, it can be between 91 and 94 million miles away. The sunshine is so powerful that it can burn us even from that distance. But he is not exercising that unduly. He is not torturing us unduly. He follows the principle of reward and punishment. Sunshine has many benefits, as you know. If you go in the sunshine, you can be cured of your depression. People who don't see sunshine, they get depressed. So there are many studies that have been done. People get cured of their migraine if they're in the sun. It's also a disinfectant. So it uplifts your mood. So many things. As you all know, the various cycles of water, the photosynthesis, they all happen because of the sun. Such absolute power. If there were no sun, there will be no vegetation, there will be no life. So much power. Yet, he uses that power through sunshine from that much distance to help us. But if we misuse that, then that can turn into a punishment. You heard of melanoma, the skin cancer? So there is some punishment too if we are misusing it. So likewise, we have to be very careful when we are assigned power, when we are given a position of power. Now, Sun God, as you also heard, does not discriminate. Samah sarveshu bhuteshu. Equanimity. He equally distributes that sunshine. Now, if you want to hide under an umbrella, obviously, he can't do much, but you still feel the warmth being in the atmosphere, being outside. So, as a leader, when we have power, we should not discriminate. But that does not mean that if you are a GBC, zonal supervisor, you make everybody temple president. There are not that many temples where you can make everybody temple president. So, non-discrimination does not mean that you give everybody the same thing. But you provide everybody equal opportunity. And you give them according to your capability. No favoritism. So, instead of discrimination, we use discretion. Srila Prabhupada, as you may know, when he conducted this big Pandal program in Mumbai, he had his glorious disciples with him at the time. And he, according to their capacity, he assigned them different jobs. Shyamasundar Prabhu was given the task of public relations, publicity. If you know Shyamasundar Prabhu, then you know that fits well with his personality. Giriraj Swami was given the task of, guess what? Fundraising. Being a wealthy individual, he knew how to deal with wealthy people and ask for money. Then we had Madhvisa Prabhu. He was made the schedule manager If you've seen his videos, especially in Australia, he would always make his appointments also in LA. So he was the schedule manager. So like that, all these people were given appropriate responsibilities depending upon their capability, depending upon their disposition. There was no discrimination. Giriraj Maharaj did not say, Prabhupada, why did you not give me public relations? So, as a leader, we use discretion to give people responsibilities that's according to their capability. As a recipient, when we are given a responsibility, we should trust the judgment of our senior and not complain, why did I not get this? Why did I not get this service? Why did somebody else got that service? So equanimity, as Sri Prahlad Prabhu was also yesterday mentioning, and he gave us this verse, Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. The equanimity is yoga. Prabhupada translates it as devotional service, process of uniting or the union with God. This sentence here, this pada of this verse, Sama Sarveshu Bhuteshu, it also appears in Bhagavad Gita in one verse, I think it's 1854. Sama Sarveshu Bhuteshu Mad Bhaktim Lavate Param. And who are these people? Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma Na Shochati Na Kamshti. So they are situated in Brahman, they are Prasannatma, they are content, they are happy. They are not lamenting, they are not hankering. And they are equal to all living beings. In that state of mind, they achieve bhakti. So, in one sense, you can say that being equal, Sama Sarveshu Bhuteshu, is a prerequisite to attaining bhakti. Earlier you heard Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. It is called devotional service when we exercise Samatvam. Sri Prahlad Prabhu also mentioned from chapter 13, texts 8 through 12, I believe, those 20 what? Of knowledge? 20, yeah, chapter 13, yeah, but what were those, what would you call those things?
Characteristics.
Qualities of devotees, okay? 20 elements of knowledge. And one of those elements is Sama Chittvam, which is same as Samatvam. Sama Chittvam means when our chit, our mind is Sama, equal. When we are in equilibrium, equanimity. So Samatvam, Sama Chittvam, so that's also knowledge. So we're talking about receiving knowledge. So Sama Chittvam, equanimity is an aspect of knowledge. And when we are equally disposed to everybody, that will give us Krishna Bhakti. In Srimad Bhagavatam, we also know Yasya asti bhakti bhagavati avinchana sarvai gunais tatra samasate sura harao abhaktasya kuto mahatguna manoratena asti dhavato bhahi. So, if our devotional service is unflinching, then we will develop these godly qualities. So, equanimity leads to devotional service. Devotional service will lead to godly qualities. And being equipoised is a godly quality. That's the characteristic that we heard. So it's kind of a cycle that, we do bhakti here and we do bhakti there too. So bhakti leads to bhakti and bhakti comes from bhakti. So what we have seen here so far through this example of King Prthu, who is an empowered incarnation, is that he received many gifts. He was powerful. He was not misusing. The sun god does not misuse his powers. So it's expected that the king will also not misuse. It is said that he will be equal to all living entities. The other characteristic that we see here is that the sun, through sunshine, evaporates water. And then it gives back. So, similarly, as a leader, you may have to take service from others. Take service according to their capability, what they can give. Do not over squeeze, do not exploit. Sun God is so merciful that even when the water is under a rock, is under shade, he will still do the mercy. Cannot directly approach, the sunshine cannot directly go there, but with the help of air, which also happens because of the sun, the cycle, it will evaporate with the help of the air. When sun god is not present, when sun is not present in the sky, and we are left in the dark, you know what he does? He makes arrangements through the moon that he reflects his sunshine so we can all nourish. The vegetables, they get their juice, the fruits get their juices through the moonshine. So this is how magnanimous, caring sun god is. And King Prthu is predicted to be as powerful and as merciful as the sun god. And all of you leaders, we want you to learn these lessons from King Prthu and be as merciful, non-discriminating, but using your discretion, being equal to all, giving devotees at the time of their needs, be magnanimous. You don't have to, there is reciprocity, there is give and take, but it doesn't have to be that you give me X amount and I give you X amount. You give them according to the need. They might have given only a little bit based on their capacity. But when they need it, what they need it, you give them profusely. So this is what the sun does. When he pours water, he pours profusely when we need it. So magnanimity, reciprocity, equanimity, discretion, no discrimination. These are some of the lessons that we can learn. And now based on reciprocity, as you heard in the previous verse, kale kale yatha bhagam, kale kale yatha bhagam. So depending upon the time, depending upon the need, king will distribute yatha bhagam. So you hear in Bhagavad Gita also, ye yatha mam prapadyante tam sathai bhajamiham. So that's not called discrimination. Depending upon our level of sincerity, depending upon how much we put in, we receive. So you follow that principle. So these are some of the lessons that I thought we could derive from this verse, from King Prthu's example, from the sun god who is empowered King Prthu, or who is compared here to King Prthu. And again, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we were able to draw these parallels. So it's about 8:46. I'd like to open up for any comments, corrections, or questions. Deva Madhava Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. You mentioned that King Prthu was, he didn't want the premature praise. He really didn't want any praise, but especially the premature praise. And it was reminding me of when Obama was elected and he got the Nobel Peace Prize within his first year and he hadn't done anything. And there was a lot of criticism of that. And I've noticed, especially because society in general is so devoid of any real leadership, that people have a kind of pedestal that they're very eager to put people on. And so I've experienced that problematically in my own aspiring leadership attempts. people put you on a pedestal eagerly, and you don't belong there. So how can we deflect that without discouraging their propensity to accept that leadership, because that's also important.
So we can learn from, again, the examples of Srila Prabhupada. Whenever he was given some praise, he accomplished so much, he would always deflect that praise. He says, all because of my spiritual master's mercy. And he gave credit to his disciples. He says, without you, I wouldn't be anything. What can this old man do? Right? Any other comments? Shruti Sagar Prabhu, Krishna Kirtan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for addressing this very important aspect amongst the leaders. And I think everyone knows that we needed this transformation in the society's leadership. Because, I don't know what's on the issue, but we have seen that due to misuse of the power, the society as an ISKCON has impacted and reminding this to the devotees who's going to lead. I have seen in the due course of time, we deviate from the purpose why we are here, what is the purpose of leadership. And it helps reminding us. At the same time, we are dealing with this mental, Kali Yuga time. Leaders also has a lot of challenges, facing. Of course, the sadhana, everything, these tools are going to help us balance, because we are not in this, the time of Prthu Maharaj. And mind, as a leader's mind, is more of goodness and more of passion. We have to do it. Sometimes judgmental also becomes part of our service. So, easy to expect that that much of purity has to be there. It's good to follow the great personalities, but in reality of life, you get into the situation that you kind of make some discrimination. You may be right or you may be wrong. It happens in practical situation.
So
point is how much the devotees leaders make certain times of certain decisions that may not be always right, and it impacts the congregation, it impacts the whole movement. So is it like a constant training process that leaders has to constantly learn and improve themselves?
What do you think?
Yeah, I know I didn't put the question properly, but I was planning a comment saying that it's good that we are discussing this. I'm not saying this was discussed in the past, Prabhupada must have certainly discussed with leaders. Always there's a desire for one is hankering for the power. And on the other hand, devotees who desire to serve, they don't want to take the responsibility.
Okay, so as a leader, our job is to check discrimination. When you notice there is some discrimination, we should check it. Again, I'll remind ourselves that there is a difference between discrimination and discretion. Discretion has to be used. We have to use our intelligence, as Prabhupada said when you read the quote yesterday, when he was talking to Giriraj Swami, how will this movement go on after I leave the planet? And Giriraj Swami said that through our chanting, our purity, our following the Four Regular Principles and so on. And Prabhupada paused, and what was his response? Organization and intelligence. I'm not expecting that we all become perfect like King Prthu after this one Srimad Bhagavatam class. It's a gradual process, but the first thing is knowing something. Once we know it, then we know how to approach it. So this is what you will learn from Kaunteya Prabhu in strategic planning. We also heard from Sri Prahlad, self-awareness, knowing where we are, who we are, and then where we want to be, and how to get there. So that's called the strategic planning process, knowing where we are, where we want to be, and how to get there. And all these tools and techniques and management principles, spiritual principles that are being presented to us, we should accept it in the spirit of rendering our service more effectively. For example, there is this Siri and Alexa, you know, these illustrious ladies, right, in iPhone and other things. So Siri says, how may I help you? What can I do for you? And if a brahmachari says, hey, I'm not supposed to deal with ladies, so I'm not going to take your help, how would that sound? I mean, Siri is offering help. Siri can make our life easier. And if I say, I'm a brahmachari, I don't want this tool, I don't want this technology, that's ridiculous, right? So similarly, we are devotees, we know we are here to purify ourselves. Our goal is to go back to Godhead. If somebody is presenting some tool which may be used by a corporation too, what's the problem in utilizing the tool if it can help us achieve our goal? Prabhupada did not discard any tool or technology. If you know the Juhu temple, which was behind schedule by many years, and when Mr. Sethi, when he came to the team, became a part of the team, he looked at the process, he said, whoa, this is ridiculous, what's going on here? And he showed Prabhupada, he brought a chart to Prabhupada. Prabhupada, this is how I'm going to carry out this project. And Prabhupada looked at the chart. He said, wow, this is very professional. Yes, we should use this. And do you know what that chart was? The Gantt chart. Gantt chart. It's used in project management. Microsoft Project can make that chart. Our friend civil engineer Dronacharya Prabhu knows. So if the devotee said, hey, you know what, this is corporate technique, we're not going to use this. And they perhaps didn't, until Mr. Sethi came on board. And when Prabhupada looked at it, he said, wow, yes, let's do it. And guess what, now TOVP, which is also behind schedule, so many years they were working. And then finally, they also hired a professional company that does project management for them. So the problem is not with the tools, the problem is not with Siri. It's the same tools. I mean, New Vrindaban was built by devotees using the materials here. But many other temples in India, the Pune temple, I don't think that was built by a devotee company. They use the same construction company that might have built a slaughterhouse in India. So you can't say, hey, this crane was used to make slaughterhouse, I'm not going to use this crane to build my temple. So the problem is not with the tools, it's not with the knife. The problem is how to use the knife. If you can use that knife to benefit a devotee in Krishna's service, let's use it. So let's be open to receiving the gifts that are being given to us by our illustrious teachers, and let's utilize them properly. Krishna Kirtan Prabhu. The journey has just begun, at least for me. You are an elevated soul. So I am, as I say, I'm in it. I'm enjoying the process of learning. And as I learn in the association of other devotees, I am also progressing towards my goal, rendering my service more effectively by the use of these tools. Shruti Sagar Prabhu, do you have a quick comment?
Actually, I have a question.
Question, okay.
So you were saying how we should be magnanimous like how the sun is. And I was reflecting that it's such a tough balance, because even yesterday, I thought Prabhu was talking about oneness, and we were talking about we Kshatriyas and Brahmins, and so as leaders in society in ISKCON, we encourage to be more Brahminical, and so people might come with requests and things they need, and be soft-hearted. But at the same time, how do we find that balance between being soft-hearted but yet being fair? Because of course everyone can come with all kinds of requests, and we might have the resources, but is it fair to give it to them? Is it justified? How do you find that balance?
So, soft-hearted does not mean weak-hearted. Arjuna was being soft-hearted in the beginning, right? And he wanted to make the wrong decision. When he made the right decision, it's not that he became discompassionate. So again, we use our discretion. We assess the need of the individual, where he or she is coming from, what his or her need is. So a leader has to be fearless. A leader has to be strong, like the sun. The sun is not fearful. The sun is fearless. Sun is strong. It shines. It can shine, but it only gives you as much as you need. There can be scorching heat, and we can all melt away. Just imagine from 94 million miles away, if it can be so hot in Nevada, if it got a little closer, what will happen? So we be strong, we be fearless, but not be weak-hearted. We be compassionate at the same time. Does that help? Somewhat? Okay. Anusuya Mataji, now you are cutting into your breakfast time.
Thank you, Prabhu. Sorry. A quick question.
Okay.
Knowing the history of this consciousness society in terms of the leadership, some of us have, leaders generally probably, have crossed between the fine line of power and empowerment.
Power and empowerment.
Yes. How can one be aware, as a leader, to not trip into the power as like the authoritarian mood, as Sri Prahlad said, and be more of an empowerment leader?
I'm not sure if I fully understood, but
yeah, rather than, sometimes we tend to get into the power, do this, do that, I say you do, as opposed to being an empowering leader. How can we be aware to catch ourselves, not to trip into that?
this you will learn more from our teachers in the residential, but I think you also know the answer, that power, as we said, it corrupts, it gets to our head, so we just got to remind ourselves as to who we are. We are a servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. But in that mood of servitude, it doesn't mean that we become weak-hearted. We perform our duty, but as a servant, just remind ourselves that this power that has been bestowed upon me is to carry out my service as a servant. Yes, Prabhu, the last one.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
On the point of discrimination, I found it a very commonplace in North America for the cultivation of Indian body devotees to be what I perceive as discriminated upon, in terms of being almost like it would take, and this is just my own figure, but it would take 2 Indian body devotees cultivating to equal 1 Western, or even be like, I haven't heard exactly.
I heard it was 10.
Maybe it's 10. So we can be light about it, but for me it's disturbing because they're spirit souls, and many of them, especially more in my generation, they were born here just like I was born here. And so how to interface with discrimination of that type?
I think the first instruction that Krishna gave to Arjuna, we seem to be forgetting. Right, the first instruction, starting with 2:11, that you're not this body, with the soul. But when it comes to dealing with devotees or making devotees, we're looking at the bodies. There is a context to this, that we are all spirit souls, But there is also kind of a mandate from, actually coming from Prabhupada himself. Prabhupada wanted French in France, not the Germans and the British. He asked, where are the locals? So it may appear like discrimination, and it should not be. We have to be really careful. We should invite everybody that comes into. We should welcome everyone. But at the same time, keep in mind that we are in America, North America, so we have to approach North Americans. So in our approach, we also hear this, that, the low-hanging fruit, right? So we reach out for low-hanging fruit. So we need to remind ourselves of all these instructions and kind of use a balanced approach. No discrimination, there is no doubt about it. We should not discriminate. And people may feel that discrimination. I sense what you're saying, I know that.
Well, sorry, at what point, because America's a juvenile, so to speak. I mean, we've only been around for so long, so how long before an Indian-bodied born person becomes an American? That would be...
Right now.
Okay.
Right now. Yeah, why are we discriminating based on the bodies? If an Indian is coming, let him come. But the point is, let's not be content with only the Indians in the temple. Let's go out, reach out. There are so many out there. So the point is not simply reach out for the low-hanging fruit. Let's get out of our comfort zone, not in the panic zone, but in that stretch zone. So from a leader's perspective, we should not be discriminating at all. And as I said, it appears as though this is what's happening. That's why we have this GBC College and this discussion going on. Right? So we can straighten our priorities. But we should remember, that being said, we are not content with only the Indians walking into the temple. We want to go out and reach out to the locals as well. That doesn't mean that we ignore other people. That's sama sarveshu bhuteshu, equanimity, being equal.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande.